team, Mr. McCarthy here again with the third installment in our Leadership Insight conversation around the subject of collaboration, breakthrough results. We've talked about trust. We've talked about generous listening. Today I want to talk about two subjects really briefly, but they're very, very important. The first is scale. So any organization is always going to be comprised of layers. Some become very complex because those layers become a matrix. But if you just think of it, as a simple, pyramid, any organization is going to be created of these layers and functions. And issues have to be seen from different viewpoints. Opportunities are gained by looking from different parts of the scale. So for example, like take a CEO of a huge multinational business. They're looking at strategy for their organization from the perspective of the entire organization in the context of the whole world outside of that company, if they're a global company. And yet, a salesperson in that organization might be looking at that exact same business, but just from the perspective of, his territory, just that one Northeast region or whatever it might be. And, the key is that people have to listen to others with an appreciation of the perspective from which they originate, the scale at which they are operating. Great leaders look at issues and opportunities then from many scales, right? You have to be able to move up and down that scale, right? The organization, the teams, the groups. From an Action Karate perspective, the schools. Many, many different perspectives. And the skill as a leader is to recognize that, when you're talking to an individual or a team, recognize the scale at which they are operating. And it's really interesting if ever a problem seems unsolvable or you're not making that breakthrough that you were hoping to, look for a solution at the next larger scale. People often say step back, right? And so think about it, if you're looking from above, right? Step back, and look at the next larger scale. And sometimes you'll see the opportunity or get the clarity that way. Take the Action organization as an example. Somebody might be operating a newly certified instructor. They might be operating from the scale of the ninjas. I just teach ninja shot class once a week. That's the scale at which they might be operating. Others, head instructors, operating from the perspective of a whole school. Other people, some of our more senior leaders in the organization, operating from the perspective of multiple schools. And then, again, at the head of the organization, operating not only across the entire Action Karate organization, but from a growth perspective, acting at an even larger scale. It's important that whichever scale you're operating at, when you're interacting with somebody, try to think about the scale from which their mind is operating. And then conversely, when you really need to get clarity, nitty-gritty detail, or resolving something, sometimes go deeper, right? Go down, on that scale and start to look at it from that perspective. And then the other subject is point of view, and it's related, right? So when you're creating something new, you're looking for those breakthrough results, a new project, a new goal for the team, a new school. Particularly when you're looking toward a new outcome that hasn't been produced before, it's very important to seek out different perspectives. And by understanding, again, the point of view of the person, maybe the scale, right, but maybe also the kind of cultural point of view that they have, of people that sit in different parts of whichever organization you're working with, or people who bring different backgrounds, different experience sets. It's really important that you really listen hard to that point of view, And it's less about just that generous listening that we talked about. It's more about recognizing their point of view. And the little story that we use to illustrate the point is, imagine there's a string hanging from the ceiling right in the middle of the room, and there's an apple hanging off that string. And on one side of the room, there's a couple of people in the team. This apple looks awesome. It looks shiny and red and so delicious and just really, really perfect. But on the other side of the room, is another group of people looking at the exact same apple, but it's bruised, and even when you get a little bit closer, there's even a worm sticking out of a hole. If you're sitting on the good apple side of the room and you're hungry, a reasonable proposal would be, hey guys, let's eat that apple. If you're sitting on the other side of the room, you're sitting on the bruised worm side of the room, and you hear someone, propose eating the apple, you'd be like, are you crazy? I'm not eating that apple. Unless, of course, you don't like the person that's making that proposal, in which case you might say, yeah, go ahead, that's a great idea. But the question is, who has the right point of view? Well, everyone has a point of view from where they're sitting around a particular opportunity or challenge. Great leaders in great organizations, really recognize and seek out an understanding of that other person's point of view. Most people probably won't be, straightforward enough to tell others that they're crazy, right? Especially if it's your boss or a leader or something that has a point of view. People say things like, well, let me think about it, or I'll get back to you on that, or, those sorts of things. So if you're the one making a proposal, looking for that breakthrough, right? Particularly if you're the boss or the leader, and you notice some resistance or reticence in people's response, ask yourself, what do they see? Which side of the apple are they looking at? That's not only a useful question, it's respectful, right? And it shows that you have a serious interest in other people's points of view. Actually ask that question out loud. Say, hey, Bob, what do you see, right? And you'll be amazed at how powerful that is. When you want to get diverse points of view, because they will give you information about something that you currently don't have, right? Sitting where you sit, looking from your own limited perspective, even if you have a lot of experience in a particular situation. Get those diverse points of view by asking people, what do you see? And then listening generously to their responses. So, common sense in many cases, right? But again, stuff to practice. So that's it for now. Thanks very much, as always, for watching. If you like the video, hit like. Make sure you subscribe so that you get to see them each week they come out. And if you think anybody might be interested, please do share. And bye for now.